Have you ever felt like recognition only comes with success? That the long nights, sacrifices, and moments of doubt go unnoticed? The reality is, society often overlooks those still struggling, reserving its praise for those who have already made it. But here's the truth: your journey isn't about validation from others. It's about you, your growth, your resilience, and your determination to keep going. Today, we're diving into why the world can be unforgiving toward failure, and why that should fuel your drive to focus on yourself and carve your own path to success. Imagine a stadium packed with thousands of people, all cheering for the champion standing on the podium. Cameras flash, reporters rush in, and the world celebrates their victory. But rewind the clock, back to when that same person was practicing alone, failing over and over, doubting themselves, pushing through exhaustion. Where was the applause then? Nowhere, because that's how the world works. Society glorifies the outcome, not the process. It loves the finished product, but rarely acknowledges the blood, sweat, and tears that went into making it. Think about Thomas Edison, the man behind the light bulb. Everyone knows him as a brilliant inventor, but how many people talk about the thousands of failed attempts before he got it right? When he was working late into the night, testing filament after filament, the world wasn't watching. No one was writing articles about his failures. In fact, people probably laughed at him, called him obsessed, told him to quit. But when he succeeded, suddenly he was a genius. Or take J.K. Rowling. Today, she's one of the most successful authors in the world, but there was a time when she was struggling to make ends meet, writing in cafes while battling rejection after rejection. 12 publishers turned her down. If she had given up after the first, the second, or even the 10th rejection, the world would have never known Harry Potter. No one was cheering for her then. No one was waiting for her next move. But the moment she succeeded, suddenly, everyone wanted to be part of the story. That's the harsh truth. People celebrate results, not effort. But here's what you need to remember. Your journey is not for them. It's for you. You can't rely on applause to keep you going, because there may be none. The long nights, the sacrifices, the failures, those moments are yours alone, and they are what will shape you into the person capable of winning in the first place. So instead of focusing on who's watching, focus on the work. Focus on getting better, on learning, on improving yourself every single day. Picture an athlete training before sunrise, when the world is still asleep. No fans, no cameras, just them and their commitment. That's where success is built. And when the moment comes, when they finally win, the world will act like they've been there all along. But they weren't. That's why you can't measure your worth by external validation, because if you rely on the world's approval, you'll crumble the moment it's not there. But if you focus on your own growth, on your own discipline, nothing can shake you. The world may ignore your struggles, but if you keep going, your success will be undeniable. There's something almost eerie about failure. It happens in silence. No one gathers around to witness it. There are no headlines, no celebrations, no standing ovations when you fall short. When you fail, the world keeps moving as if nothing happened. And that might feel cruel at first, but if you really think about it, it's one of the most freeing truths of life. Imagine a musician practicing alone in their room, messing up the same chord progression over and over again. No one is there to hear the mistakes. No one is there to criticize the off-key notes. And because no one is watching, they're free to experiment, to get it wrong, to try again. Now picture that same musician performing in front of an audience. Every note counts, every misstep is noticed, every flaw is on display. But by the time they step onto that stage, they've already failed privately so many times that their success looks effortless. That's the beauty of failure. It's your personal workshop, a space where you can grow without the weight of the world's judgment. Take Michael Jordan, for example. Everyone knows him as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but fewer people talk about the fact that he was cut from his high school team. He could have let that failure define him. He could have believed that if he wasn't good enough then, he'd never be good enough. But instead, he treated that failure as fuel, spending countless hours practicing alone. No one was watching him shoot hoops late at night. No one was cheering him on when he missed over and over. But those private failures shaped him into the legend he became. Failure is a teacher that speaks only to you. It gives you feedback that no critic, no audience, no outsider can provide. It forces you to reflect, to adjust, to strengthen your weaknesses. And the best part, no one cares about your failures enough to remember them. The world is too busy. People have their own problems, their own dreams, their own setbacks to worry about. They might notice your failure for a moment, but then they'll move on. And that's exactly why failure should never paralyze you. It's easy to fear judgment, to feel embarrassed when things don't work out. But the truth is, most people aren't paying attention the way you think they are. If you stumble, if you fall flat on your face, if you fail miserably at something you poured your heart into, guess what? It doesn't matter. Because by the time you succeed, no one will remember the failures. They'll only see the victory. So use that silence to your advantage. Train in the dark. Learn when no one is watching. Fail privately, grow relentlessly, and by the time the world takes notice, you'll be ready. There's an unspoken rule in the world. Effort is invisible, but results are everything. No one claps for the person who tries. They clap for the one who succeeds. You could work harder than anyone, sacrifice more than everyone, but if you don't have something tangible to show for it, the world keeps moving without a second glance. And that reality can be crushing if you let it. But what if you stopped chasing approval altogether? What if you decided that your work, your growth, and your journey were enough, even when no one else was paying attention? Picture a marathon runner training in the dead of winter. There's no crowd, no medals, no finish line. Just them, their breath fogging up in the cold air, their feet pounding the pavement. No one is there to cheer when they push through the exhaustion. No one is there to see the early mornings, the sore muscles, the days when they don't feel like running but lace up their shoes anyway. But come race day, when they cross that finish line, the applause is deafening. People see the victory, but they never saw what it took to get there. That's how life works. Take Elon Musk. Today, people admire him for building Tesla and SpaceX, but rewind to when he was sleeping in his office, barely scraping by, reinvesting every dollar back into his companies. He wasn't a billionaire then. He was just another guy trying to make things work. No one was praising him when he was on the verge of bankruptcy. But the moment Tesla succeeded, suddenly he was a genius. The approval only came after the results. So what happens if you spend your whole life chasing approval? You become trapped. You start basing your worth on how many likes you get, how many people acknowledge your efforts, how much external validation you receive. And that's dangerous because the world is inconsistent. One day it loves you, the next day it forgets you. If your motivation depends on applause, what happens when the applause stops? The solution is simple. Stop waiting for recognition. Stop seeking permission to be great. Start doing the work for yourself. If no one claps, clap for yourself. If no one sees the late nights, the extra hours, the sacrifices, you see them. And that's all that matters. Think about a painter working on a masterpiece. They don't stop after every brushstroke to ask if it's good enough. They keep going. They trust the process. They let the work speak for itself. That's the mindset you need to adopt. Keep moving forward, whether people notice or not. Keep showing up, whether anyone praises you or not. Because at the end of the day, the world may only see the finish line, but the race is yours to run. There's a part of success that no one talks about, the part where you're alone. No audience, no encouragement, no recognition, just you, your thoughts, and the work that needs to be done. These are the moments that define everything. Not the victories, not the applause, but the long, silent hours when no one is watching. Think about a writer staring at a blank page, trying to string together words that make sense. No one sees the deleted drafts, the frustration, the self-doubt. People only see the finished book sitting on a shelf. Or an athlete, drenched in sweat, training before the sun rises. No one cheers in those early mornings. No one applauds the exhaustion. But those unseen moments, that's where greatness is built. Kobe Bryant understood this better than most. He was known for his relentless work ethic, showing up to the gym at 4 a.m. while everyone else was still asleep. There was no one to watch, no cameras rolling, no immediate payoff, just hours and hours of unseen effort. But when game time came, when the whole world was watching, it looked effortless. Not because it was easy, but because the real work had already been done in silence. The truth is, most people will never understand the grind. They see the highlights, not the process. They admire the success, but they don't see the lonely nights, the sacrifices, the moments of self-doubt. And that's why so many people quit, because they expect the journey to be filled with motivation, with support, with validation. But real success, it's built in the moments when motivation is gone, when no one is around to push you, when it's just you versus yourself. Solitude is not a punishment. It's an opportunity. It's in those quiet hours that you truly grow. When no one is watching, you're free to experiment, to fail without judgment, to improve without pressure. It's in that space that you sharpen your skills, strengthen your mindset, and prepare for the moment when the world finally does take notice. Think of a tree growing in the middle of a forest. It takes years for its roots to dig deep, for its trunk to grow strong. No one pays attention to it while it's growing. No one stops to admire it when it's just a sapling. But one day, it stands tall, unshakable, towering above everything around it. And by then, the work is already done. So if you find yourself alone, grinding in silence, feeling like no one cares, good. That means you're in the right place. Because the loneliest moments, the ones where you wonder if it's all worth it, are the ones that will shape who you become. The world does not slow down for weakness. It doesn't wait for you to catch up, and it certainly doesn't make room for those who hesitate. If you've ever felt overlooked, dismissed, or underestimated, you know exactly how cruel reality can be. When you struggle, when you're at your lowest, the world moves on without a second thought. But that's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to become stronger. Because while the world may be indifferent to those who fall, it never forgets those who rise. Imagine a young boxer stepping into the ring for the first time. He's eager, full of energy, ready to prove himself. But the moment the bell rings, he's met with a brutal reality. His opponent is faster, stronger, more experienced. The crowd isn't cheering for him. They don't care about his potential or how badly he wants it. They only care about the knockout. And when he hits the canvas, no one rushes in to lift him up. No applause, no sympathy, just silence. He has two choices: stay down and accept defeat, or get back up, train harder, and return stronger. Life is no different. The world respects power, resilience, and results. It admires those who refuse to stay down. Look at someone like Oprah Winfrey, rejected, fired, told she wasn't good enough for television. The world had no sympathy for her struggles. No one was waiting to hand her success, but she built herself up, developed unshakable confidence, and became unstoppable. Today, no one remembers the people who doubted her. They only remember the empire she created. The question is, how do you make yourself unbreakable? It starts in the mind. If you see yourself as weak, the world will treat you as such. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build, brick by brick. Stop seeking permission to be great. Stop waiting for someone to validate your potential. Instead, prove it to yourself. Train your body to be stronger. Train your mind to handle setbacks. Train your emotions to remain steady, even when life throws its worst at you. Every day is a choice. You can let failure crush you, or you can use it as fuel. You can let rejection break your spirit, or you can sharpen yourself against it like a blade against stone. The world is not kind to those who hesitate, but it rewards those who refuse to break. If you're struggling right now, if you feel invisible, if you feel like no one cares, good. That means you have an opportunity. This is your moment to build yourself into someone the world cannot ignore. Because the world may not be kind to those who fall, but it will remember those who rise. The world isn't built to nurture those in progress. It doesn't celebrate the person who's still struggling, still figuring things out, still falling short. It doesn't pause to acknowledge the nights you spend doubting yourself, the sacrifices you make, or the battles you fight behind closed doors. But that's okay, because your success was never meant to be validated by the world. It was meant to be built by you. Think of every failure, every rejection, every painful setback as a chapter in your story. Not the conclusion, not the final word, just a moment, a lesson, a stepping stone. Too many people stop writing their story because the world isn't clapping for them yet, but the applause doesn't come first. The struggle does. The effort does. The perseverance does. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to believe in yourself. The world won't always cheer when you start, but it will take notice when you finish. Every great success you've ever seen, every champion, every innovator, every legend was once unseen, unheard, and underestimated. The difference? They kept going. They kept working. They didn't need the world's validation to move forward. So be your own biggest supporter. Celebrate your small wins. Push through the moments when no one is watching. Because when you finally rise, the world won't just notice. It will remember. The journey is yours to take. The power is yours to claim. Now, go out there and make it happen. And if this message spoke to you, if you're ready to take control of your own success, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more content like this, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build something great together.